Brilliant. So we should be live in Facebook. Hopefully, Steffi will let you know.
I think we might be live. I don't know if I feel alive, but we are live.
I think there's someone else. I think there's a ghost in the room. There's a second me, and that scares me.
Okay, here we go. Now we should be live without an echo, and that should be working. So let's see, is Steffi coming back to us and letting us know?
Let's have a little
yes,
check.
Okay. Brilliant, that's great. So we'll keep an eye on that.
We're being well looked after. Yes.
I love the fact I've been streaming these shows into Facebook as a Facebook Live and recording on Zoom for so many months now, and I still get really anxious about it.
I know. Well, it's tech, isn't it? Because tech, you never know if something is working. Because like we're sat in our homes, we have no idea. We just trusting.
So anyway, what we were saying is I am so excited that we've got this second Cantankerous Old Women conversation today, Dale, and about midlife chaos. And since we set this up, so much has happened to both of us and in the news and everything like that. So I thought that I'd just ask you, where are you right today around the subject of midlife chaos?
Well, you see this smile. See this smile and this serene exterior. Actually, there's a whole load of bloody midlife mayhem going on in my head. I honestly don't. I'm going to blame the full moon. I'm sure it's someone's fault because it's not mine. But I'm actually in a bit of a strange place, which I think is perfect for this conversation. So last night, so I've been watching Suits, not Soup, Suits. And if anyone's seen it, it's on. I know lots of people don't watch the TV, but I quite like having mindless stuff on at night because it just kind of helps me to kind of sink into the day. And I stopped watching it recently because it felt so, I mean, I know it's not real, but it felt quite aggressive. I got sick of people using the word shit and bullshit and God damn right I will. So there's all this stuff going on. So I spent a couple of nights watching Black Mirror. Well, I came back to it last night and I was sat there and I thought I actually had to go and colour in some mandalas to get my head out of what I was thinking. So if you've seen it, not all, most of the women are stick thin, right? Their hair is beautiful. Their makeup is divine. They wear the most incredible dresses on these little stick thin bodies, and they wear shoes with heels like this. And I'm like, how are you managing to walk? And it feels, it's not real. I know it's not real, but there was something about it that triggered me. And I think I was saying to you earlier that, you know, I worked full time while I got myself an MBA, and I had this dream that I was going to change the world and I was going to do it inside corporate. It never happened. I mean, I made, you know, senior leadership team, but it never happened. But in one of the recent episodes, spoiler alert, Donna, who is a secretary, buys in to becoming a partner. And, you know, the whole thing blurs into whatever. But somebody else who, you know, a man with his puffy up, I'm being rude now, puffy up chest and his, you know, slick city suit. Try saying that when you haven't got your teeth in. He wanted to be a partner, you know, because everyone wants to be a partner because they want to, you know, they want to run the world and it makes them important. And they made a comment about her. It's like, she's just a secretary. How is she a partner? And I thought, well, why shouldn't she be? Why shouldn't she be a bloody partner? Like, who are you to say that someone cut, you know? And I think we have that so much. And it's wound me up. And then I think it's wound me up because it's made me think about, like, not that I don't like who I am or where I am or anything. It just made me feel like, what did I do with my life? Like, what, you know, when you think about, like, I always think, when I think about paths, I always think about the stairway to heaven, you know, there's two paths you can go on. And I think, well, what if I pursued that path? And I'm in that space, you wish you never asked me now, I'm in that space of like, who am I? Why didn't I pursue that? Like, what happened? What happened to like get me here? And then I was just going to say, on LinkedIn, there was and I can't remember who made the post, there was an image, and it said, I am a woman CEO, and they'd crossed the woman out, and I thought, yes, you know, why does gender have to come into it? So that's where I am. I'm not in Suits, I'm in the soup of this mayhem that's going on in my life about feeling unfulfilled, and, you know, have I followed all the right paths? You know, my logic says we're always on the right path. This is where you're meant to be. But just, there's something at the moment, I'm just sat there going, I don't like this very much. So there we go. What about you? Where are you?
Well, I'd been thinking, you know, I'd been looking at what you'd written about midlife chaos.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm going to say. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to bring to the conversation. Although, actually, I think that might be part of the midlife chaos, although I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
She's still in the midlife place. I think I might be shifting into, but anyway. But for the sake of argument, I am involved in this conversation and we are talking about midlife chaos. And so I was just trying to think, like, and I get that sense of where am I in relationship to that? And, you know, I really remember how horrific I felt through that whole menopause journey that I didn't quite understand that I was on. I don't know why I didn't understand. I think that it was too chaotic in my brain, or I didn't want to accept it, or whatever it was. I didn't give in gracefully. And I just, I don't know, my whole life just kind of fell apart. The relationship that I was in, that was pretty dysfunctional anyway, was so dysfunctional it fell apart. So then I was you know, beyond the relationship. The work that I was involved in, that kind of crumbled away. I left my home and kind of went on a nomadic, some people called a home-free existence. And so, and that was exciting in one way, but it was discombobulating in another, because you know, I didn't have a job. I wasn't really even self-employed at that time, so I was kind of wandering. So in one respect, I think I felt quite lost. And I remember waking up just around Christmas time, just after Christmas time. You know, I just got to 59, and so I'd been on the menopause journey for a while, however long. Thinking, oh my God, my life is completely and utterly screwed. And so it's like, oh, I got that memory. So it's like, oh, I wouldn't mind sharing that. And then I was looking through the rest of the description, and you were saying it's not that you have to change your life dramatically or drastically. And I thought, but I did. I didn't know I was going to. Right? Yeah. But I ended up having an amazing job that came out of nowhere, and ended up doing a 5-week bucket list tour in Peru, ending with a week-long trip, a retreat kind of experience in the Amazon rainforest doing ayahuasca. So there I am, the oldest person on the tour.
Tripping.
And then suddenly life changed again. And when I got back to England, I wanted to live somewhere where it was very much in the middle of nature, and preferably a lot of rain. So I got exactly what I asked for. I ended up spending a 4-month winter from, I think I moved in on the 10th of November and moved out on the 10th of March. So a 4-month stay in a yurt on my own, completely off grid, I couldn't see from there. I couldn't see another home or a house or anything. And it was the wildest, wettest winter on record in Wales. It's like, okay. And if you've been in a yurt, it's made of canvas. So actually, when it's raining on canvas, it sounds like you're inside a drum. and to get that nearly every night and every day for 4 months drives you completely insane. But I know, it was completely wild. I swore a lot.
I'm sure.
But I came out of that with an understanding that it was like being back in the womb, going through the tail end of the menopause journey, I think, my menopause journey, and coming out with a new sense of who I am in that moment, from having felt so lost and not knowing who I was. I began to reconstruct, and you mentioned about reinventing earlier, and I had that sense that I wasn't reinventing myself. I think I'd already reinvented myself pre-menopause, through that whole suits kind of time, like who did I need to be in life. And I think that coming through menopause and out the other side, I've become much more the real me. So yeah, does that answer that? I don't know.
That's truly fascinating, because I didn't go on some wild adventure, but you're kind of triggering something for me. Like, menopause for me started quite young, so in my very early 50s, I think about 52, I had no periods. Everything ended. But I was also in a dysfunctional relationship, but I was caring for his mother with dementia, and I completely lost who I was. And I was unwell, and I didn't know what was wrong. And and the doctors couldn't help me. And I decided, like, to radically change my diet. And I was actually soups stick thin, and I lost lots of weight. And I remember looking at my body, and everything was wrinkles. There was this skinny body. Oh, it was horrible. It was hideous. I was sat going, what's this? It's like all these wrinkles everywhere. And I didn't know who I was. I remember standing in the mirror with this like skinny body and thinking, I don't know who you are. But when that ended, like, I left, stuff happened. His mum died, stuff happened. Within 6 weeks, I'm sure I've shared the story before, I was in a rundown old house in Spain. And this was my yurt, right? Because, I arrived in, it's like, oh, there's no electricity. And, within a week, I had the electricity turned on and the water sorted. But it was, this house was like, what a bloody mess. I cried a lot. And so, although I didn't have all that, because I'm in sunny Spain, and it was boiling. Oh my God, I came in summer and it was boiling hot. So, but there's something about, is it a thing that a woman does that we don't realize that we need to do, that we break free of society, whatever it is? Because it almost feels like mine was, I didn't know what to do, so I'm just going to go. Now, if you think about it, because I think one of the things that we said in the description was about stereotypes. Now, I wonder if it's, and I don't know, this might be a general thing, I wonder if it's a woman thing to kind of break free, but not go and buy, like, leathers and a motorbike or a fast car and start shagging young men. But what we do is we just take ourselves off, and I don't know if it's find ourselves again or just be able to come into our heart space. But no, I wanted to be in nature. And I like being in nature. I can't, I couldn't live in, I don't know about you, but I can't live in a city again. But I know I'm listening to your story and I'm thinking, well, kind of did that. I left everything behind and I moved to this beautiful, peaceful place. There's nothing here. It's a little tiny village. There's not many houses, surrounded by hills. And everything is so different. And what was important isn't. I don't know. I have done the motorbike. Do you ride a bike? Did you used to ride a bike?
Oh, I don't. I fantasize as well.
Right. Well, I did ride a bike, and I think I'm just trying to think how old I might have been in my. I was either in my 30s or 40s. I can't bloody remember. But I remember, wanting to have a motorbike, and so I went and passed my test, and I bought the most ridiculously large bike. I bought a Trident 750. Well, I know I'm quite tall, but my little toes barely touched the floor, and I fell off this thing, which dented my pride. So I went and bought a Ducati 600 SS, went and got it tuned. I had to have all the best leathers. I couldn't imagine even remotely wanting like a fast car, or I couldn't ride a motorbike anymore because I've had spinal fractures. But I just wonder if that's like a woman thing that and I'm desperately, while I'm talking, trying to think of the author that went off to Italy to find herself, and I can't think what the name of that book is.
You mean Eat, Pray, Love?
That's it.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
There we go. So, it's like, is that a woman thing that we don't actually have to go to a different country, but do we go on a journey?
Isn't that interesting? I mean, I think lots of women don't. They stay
Yeah.
where they don't want to stay.
Yeah.
But maybe it is, maybe it's because women often get into roles of being the carer, or that they're God, I nearly used the subservient word then.
But it is
where that came from. But
slaves.
Maybe we need to go off on our own so that we don't end up helping somebody else instead. And I mean, being in the yurt was an extraordinary experience, and of course everything slowed down because
okay, I don't know who.
The only way that I could make
just froze. I missed everything you said because the screen froze, and I was like, no, I have to fill in a gap. What am I going to say? Just so you were in a yurt,
and everything slowed down,
right?
Because if you don't have electricity and you don't have gas, and I did actually take a little camping gas stove with me that I wasn't supposed to have, but I came back from town one day, or the nearest little town, to find that a squirrel, or a rat, but probably a squirrel, had let itself into the yurt because it was quite easy to get into, and it had gnawed through the pipe that linked the gas to the little stove. Luckily, I had turned the gas off that morning. Otherwise, I might have either blown it up or gassed it stuff. But anyway, so I couldn't use that anymore. And I thought, well, if I just get another one, that's just going to come back and do the same thing. So the only way that I could make tea is if I made myself a fire in the wood burner and then put a kettle on the top of that. But that took such a long time. So at night, I usually didn't bother with that. And I didn't feel like I could afford to have that alight all day. So I would go in my car into town, set up my little office in one of the little pubs there, and have tea on tap practically for a few hours. And then in the evening, I would come back. But I would have to go and get my water, fetch my water in a big can. Then I'd have to build the fire, but I'd have to bring the wood in and make sure that it had dried out. And if I was boiling water, or I could make a one-pot stew, and then I could either have do enough water to wash up, or enough hot water to wash myself. And that was kind of my choice. I'd wash up sometimes every other day and wash myself every other day. And it's like, wow, I never thought I could bear to live somewhere where I didn't have a bath or a shower every single morning. But you get used to having grimy fingernails after a while. It's amazing.
You sound like kind of like, I tell you who comes to mind, I can't remember her name, Jane something. You sound like Prairie Woman. But what was it? Jane Seymour. She was like a medicine woman doctor. And that's like, I've got that in my mind of like, you know, the women who live like you have just described. Because you think back years ago, I mean, did they have midlife chaos or mayhem or whatever when they were living that kind of, I'm going to say hand to mouth existence, but that kind of, you know, we live in, you know, wooden huts and like you say, you know, boil the kettle, you know, was existence then better, easier? You know, have we in our, what's that, you know, we've striven, I don't know if striven is a word, but we've, you know, we've wanted, you know, to embrace like technology and bigger, better, faster, and have more, and, you know, dress in our suits and was that better? You know, I'm just wondering, was that better? I mean, you must have felt living that, and there must have been times when you just cried your eyes out and thought, what the is going on? But actually, was that nicer, better? Was it more peaceful? You know, yes, you've expressed all that emotion, but like, you know, I don't know the answer. You know, are you a better person for it? But there must be something that does to you that strips away all of that stuff that we have decided that we have to have. We need it, and we don't need any of that shit.
I think for me, I certainly felt much more resourceful.
Yeah.
You know, thinking I can live without electricity. I mean, apart from the fact I needed the internet for my work, but you know, but if there had been some major you know, global cataclysm or, you know, bomb or something, you know, where we would be in that survival space, I would feel much more able to survive. You know, I know how to forage, and I didn't cut my own wood, but I mean, it was really minimal, but I felt resourceful. I felt strong. I felt more independent and more real. And it gave me the space to start feeling more childlike again. So I kind of felt like I was marrying the older me with the childlike me. And that became, actually, that was really cool. Thinking back, it was, you know, I'd say hello to the lights coming on and the birds in the trees, and I thank the tree I called my guardian tree, and that kind of thing. So it was very, very simple, and I loved that simplicity. And
so I tell you what it feels like for me. It's like perhaps that as we're traveling this journey, we put on a cloak that is almost, it's full of burdens of society and judgment and other people's expectations. And then it's almost like something happens. So yours and mine sounds like, you know, it was a relationship that ended. And we just kind of threw that cloak off. And I'm not saying it was easy, because I know I fell to pieces and I was ill, you know, all those suppressed emotions wrecked my body. But it's like we throw it off, and we are in a sense standing naked and going, what are we going to do now? And you just, what's that saying that the journey of something or other, 1,000 miles starts with one step? And that literally is it's like the shedding of the cloak, the mantle, the thing that's holding you down. And we step out of it and it's like, ooh, oh, what am I supposed to do in this brave new world? And we don't know. But I like what you said about, like, almost like the child comes out and goes, oh, I wonder what happens if I pick that or go there or jump that stream. Or I really love that as something that we kind of that we do. So it might not be as drastic as your son's, even more drastic than mine, but it might not be, as drastic as that. I sort of packed everything up, put me and my dogs into the motorhome and drove. And I didn't think once, apart from when I was sat in the boiling heat in Barcelona, in the traffic, and I kept watching the temperature go into the red and thinking, oh my God, what do I do if it all blows up? And it was, lanes and lanes of cars. And it was like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be, and I just trundled for a couple of days till I got here and just never really thought about it. Never thought. I'm going to a new life. I'm getting rid of the old life. I just thought, I'm driving a motorhome. And then when I got here, it was, oh shit, I'm going to live in a house, and it's like being in the moment. You have to just accept the moment and keep taking that, whatever that step is. And I think that each time we do that, we let some of those kind of burdens go. And I like that. I kind of like the idea that we go back, in essence, not necessarily back to the prairie, but like be that prairie woman. A kind of, well, we've talked about the wild woman before.
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea. And when you talk about grimy nails, I got this picture in my head of, like, grimy hair and smudge my lips, smudges and kind of dirty clothes and scrub blacking the fire and whatever.
And it's so interesting, isn't it? Just like hearing you talk about, your life became about you and the dogs, but about you, and my life became about me. And yes, I had some work when I was in the yurt, but most of the time I was thinking, like, like, I'm surviving, I'm creating this, and I would love to recommend that to as many women as possible that are thinking about their lives. If their lives are revolving or have revolved around others, where they're the mother, even the grandmother, the partner, but always the one in that kind of archetypal, stereotypical role of being the carer, is to take time out however you can at some point. Not always possible, but but living in the yurt was phenomenally cheap. Rent for a yurt is not the same, and it's really hard to spend as much as anybody in the house on things like central heating and stuff like that. And when you're only cooking in one pot, it's not a huge you're going to do. But if you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to spend next winter in the yurt, I do recommend, if you drink wine, make sure that you take with you a corkscrew.
Is that a good wine, darling?
Yeah. Take a corkscrew in case you accidentally buy a bottle with a cork in it, because that's really frustrating, being out in the middle of nowhere. You're in your pajamas and you're there, and it's really dark and howling outside.
That is such a great picture.
You can't open the bottle of wine. So that was very bad. But it creates, it strips you bare in one way, but it builds you up in another, like a level of tolerance. And I'm very good at being on my own, but that was a different kind of alone. And yeah, it's amazing. And we were talking about stereotypes earlier, weren't we? And thinking about films or the programs that we might have seen, and I was racking my brains, and then I came up with Grace and Frankie as
love
for me. Like, I'd heard so many people talk about Grace and Frankie, and finally I got Netflix, and I went, oh, let me just go and see what everybody's talking about. Oh my God, they
I
did
love them.
kind of reinvent themselves, I guess, didn't they?
They are. I binged watched it all, and then it came to an end, and I'm like, no, you can't do that to me. And then I think the final season came, and I think Jane Fonda must have been about 80 years old in it. And I have often said, you know, if I could have like a dream job, I would want to be a script. I don't know who wrote the script, but I would want to be a script writer in the room with Lily Tomlin writing that series, because I don't know if she's the script writer. You know, I guess it's a collaboration of both of them, but I loved her character so much. You know, hippie, or just everything. I think I identified with the hippie and the, you know, sitting around smoking and being chilled, and unless you're not. I really identified with that. And I thought, oh God, you know, I would so love to be a script writer for a show like that, where you can just be as funny, but also bringing in kind of all those, what I always get this word, existential issues that as older ladies, you know, kind of like know what we go through. But aren't they incredible, the pair of them? I mean, I'm sure that Jane Fonda was during that, in her 80s, I'm sure. But like, it's just, what a brilliant series.
Well, they so threw out of the window the idea that, for a start, that you have to conform.
Yes.
That you can't have sex.
Yes.
That you can't have, and therefore you can't have partners. That you can't have ideas and build a business. That you can't follow your heart, do your own thing. That you have to have a man, all of that, or partner. It threw all of that out of the window. I just thought, wow, how refreshing. And you know, apart from the fact that they're two quite elderly actors in the main roles, and how brilliantly it did. So yeah, I think I learned a lot about growing older.
So you've triggered something for me. So I've been on my own, as in single, the whole time I've been here, which is like 9.5 years. And how interesting, because I haven't, it's a long time since I've seen it, but Jane Fonda's character, wasn't the guy a younger man? So
I think there was a younger man, I can't remember.
And she has a relationship with, I can see his face, and I can see him in a suit, and I'm sure he had grey hair. And I remember watching it and thinking, I couldn't imagine being in my 70s or 80s having wild sex with anybody. And I don't know if that's because I've always felt kind of dysfunctional about my body, even when I was really thin. You know, when I was packing everything away, I found do you remember vanity cases? A vanity case full of photos. Oh, excuse me. And I remember being persuaded to go and do Miss Cardiff. And I was in a photography club, and I ended up being their model. And, you know, they took photos of me in my swimming costume, and I was stick thin. But I remember at the time thinking, I am so fat. And I spent lots of my life hiding my body. So, you know, I go clubbing and wear kind of like outrageous things. And I don't know why I thought that was okay, but the rest of the time going, oh my God, there's like, you know, really never liked my body. And then when my spine fractured, you know, I'd been doing yoga and all kinds of things. And I was like, yeah, you know, I quite like this. Well, of course, when my spine fractured, I've said before, my stomach came under my boobs. You know, I can't wear a bra anymore, because not only did I have fractures, I had shingles and fractured a rib, and, you know, all sorts of stuff. And you lose even more elasticity, even more for when you're in the bloody menopause. And watching them having sex and thinking, like, who's ever going to love this body? You know, it's, even now as I'm saying it, I can feel this like, oh, I'm not sure I want to do that. But then the guy's going to be old too. And he's probably got a paunch and a bit of fat stuff and a bit of a saggy bum and knobbly knees and whatever else. And it shouldn't really matter, but it always gets me. Always gets me. Even now, my back is straight again. My stomach's somewhere down there. And it'll never be the same. And I think I think if you shouldn't have regrets, but one of my regrets is I didn't actually know that I had a lovely body. It was like, oh, and and when I did the Miss Cardiff, I'm going to tell you about Miss Cardiff. It was bloody awful. I tomboy, right? Rock chick, tomboy. I don't think my style has ever changed. Like, I love long dresses. And I like, leather jackets and boots and jeans. But I remember doing the Miss Cardiff. And I went to like a Debenhams or something like that. And one of my friends did my makeup. So I bought a swimming costume, bought a pair of high heel shoes, and off I went. And I just pitched up. I thought everyone was preening themselves and they were putting makeup between their legs to hide, all sorts of stuff. And they all lied about their body sizes. Like, I was a twig. And I'm looking at all these girls thinking, well, you're much bigger than me, but you just lied. And I told the truth. And then, you had to come out of this thing and down these steps. And I was panicking because it's like the steps. There was people catcalling. And I just came down and saw my mum and dad and my friend. And I went, it's like, Jesus Christ. And it's like, I mean, what an experience. But I had no idea of what, the beauty industry and the catwalk and all that. I had no idea. And it's like, but I kind of wish I'd known that actually my body was all right. And I never did. I went and did it because people persuaded me, anything for a challenge and a laugh. And it's like, it was hideous. But I kind of, with all the things you go through, and I'm sure lots of women, when we go through menopause, stuff changes. I used to be a redhead, and then the white stuff came through, and so I started dyeing my bloody hair. And then when I had it all cut out, it was like, it's quite a nice colour. It's like, when are we ever going to learn to just bloody accept who we are? I don't know where this conversation is going, but I just feel like there's this whole thing about acceptance that I want to say. It's like, I think we're in a great place now. We haven't got those bodies. We're not booted and suited, and some of us may never have been. We're not sat on the board of whatever. But actually, I have, although I started this conversation saying I'm like in a really shitty space, I actually have so much love, compassion for myself, and in a place of deep inner peace. So regardless of how I started, I just want to say thank you, because we've had this conversation. I actually feel that everything's okay.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
It's like sod suits and your skinny bodies and your actually, they're all going to get old. I don't think anyone's told them, but they're all going to get old. And I think this is such a lovely place to be. You've gone through, I don't know that the mayhem, the turmoil, the regrets, the grief, the loss, the whatever will ever go away. But mostly I'm in quite, and I don't know about you, I'm quite a nice place. What about you?
Well, actually, yes. And I just want to read something out that Steffi sent us. But I'll answer that first. Yes, I do feel that. And yes, I do have all those anxieties as well. But I have that sense that surely at our age, both men and women, if they are worth getting to know, this is in my humble, maybe not so humble opinion, Be okay whether we've got some bulges around our belly and saggy bits and stuff like that. It's like, surely at our age we can move beyond that and really see the heart of the person, and that it's the heart, that who are they inside, like what's going to sustain us into deep old age, when
Yeah.
if I get into another relationship and it's a long term one, we're getting old together quite quickly. There isn't the 40 years to go through first. It's like fairly immediate, and that's kind of, I'm thinking about what that means. So we've got a couple of messages from Catherine Laws. Hi, Catherine.
Hello.
She said Jane Seymour is brilliant in a TV series called Harry Wild, a very sassy, wild older woman in Dublin, drinking a lot of red wine, not Botoxed, funny and witty. That sounds worth checking out. And she also says that she was told by a man that they are not even thinking about what a woman's body looks like when sex is on offer.
That's always been.
I can read that in a couple of ways, actually.
That brings a really horrible saying to mind about men.
Oh no!
Don't look at the thingy when they're poking the fire,
No.
and it's like, but it's probably bloody true, because the brain that. I don't know if men are watching this, I have no idea, but I imagine that once they get a, hold on, that their is it the reptilian part of their brain, or whatever, the bit that procreates, or what, I don't know. I'm not being a man, so not in this lifetime, so I'm not quite sure, but I think that's probably so bloody true. They don't care. They're just, let's get my rocks off. I'm sure in the wild throes of what, I can't remember what it even feels like.
Oh, we've got Charlemagne is watching.
Right.
And she says, yes, the delusion that she has, that she's witnessed from men her age, which is kind of our age and older, regarding aging, has been remarkable. The disconnect from themselves and their own actual physical reality is at times equal parts humorous and heartbreaking. And I appreciate this discussion for many reasons. Bless you, Charlemagne.
Thank
Wow.
you. That's actually very interesting, because I don't know if you've ever been tempted to do, I can't remember what, after the Tinders and the whatever, and I think the last time, in fact the only time I've been on Tinder, is I went back to the UK in 2016, so I think I was 56, and either my brother, his wife, or one of my nieces set me up on Tinder when I went to the bathroom. And I know, and I spent, I don't know whether you go left or right, but whatever it was like, no, 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 no. And it was still on my phone when I came home. And this thing about men and reality, it's like, well, I'm 56. And any man, pretty much any man that was my age, they wanted girls that were like 23 or something. It's like, I've not looked in the bloody mirror. Unless you are immensely wealthy, ain't gonna happen. And I'm being judgmental and stereotyping guys, and I really apologise to you beautiful men out there who are looking for someone real. It's true. You go onto a dating site, and the guys are looking for women who are at least 20 years younger. Like, why is that? Why?
But interestingly, and I don't have any idea whether this fits with this conversation or not.
Whatever.
No, I've never gone down the internet dating route, not because I have anything against internet dating, but because I haven't gone down the dating route of any description for so long.
I don't blame you.
It totally freaks me out.
And me.
But I have recently met men our age, 50, 55, 60, 65, that kind of age. And they have renewed my sense of men. Like, they are open-hearted and kind and thoughtful and funny and real. And it's like, wow, I'm so glad I've met them. And this is just in the last, not even a year, I think. And I'm blown away. It's like there are men that I appreciate as much as I do our silver sisters that we meet in the silver tent and silver synergy. And it's like, oh, this is great. And of course, most of my time is spent with women because of the silver tent. And so to go beyond and meet men now that I feel that same kinship with, or similar kinship, it's remarkable and wonderful and encouraging.
There's hope for me yet then. I think part of my thing, and maybe for me and maybe some other women, you know, when you've had awful relationships, you know, I've steadfastly not embarked on any relationship. I've tried meeting people, and it's like each person I've met, and I've met many, it's like they want to control me, and it's like a pattern. So it seems easier to like push everybody away. Not that I meet anybody, but I can feel myself energetically not in that space. And you're talking about meeting all these lovely people, and my little heart's going, it's almost like a bit of a panic. And so I think what that's highlighting for me is that there's a little bit of healing that needs to be done around that whole, it's okay to get out there and embrace perhaps meeting somebody.
Well, this wasn't done. I mean, I kind of met them accidentally. It wasn't through,
Okay,
decision to date. It's not. I didn't date these men. I
right.
had lunch with them, but not as a date. I've met them through something else, and it's like, wow, there are lovely men in the world, and I realised that during the whole menopause, having left this dysfunctional relationship, that there was still quite a large shadow from that said men are like that, men are like him.
Yeah.
And and they're not. There are wonderful men out there, and that's just really lovely. So we've got a couple more comments now. So another from Charlemagne, she says she's considered dating again, but the online experience is depressing for her. Catherine says there are men on dating sites, not Tinder or any of those quick fix ones, who are looking for women their own age and looking for genuine connection. And as a human design manifester, she's too much for most of them. I know how you feel, Catherine.
I'm a human design projector. So I don't know what that someone needs to tell them, because my thing apparently is waiting for waiting for the invitation, and no one ever invites me. What I need to go do is go and be on one of those sites and see if anyone invites me. But I think the Sagittarian in me would be like, don't try and tie me down, because I don't know if you TikTok, but I love TikTok, and there are so many hilarious videos about Sagittarian women, and I watch them and I think, yeah, that's like we love. I was watching one the other day, and it's like, as Sagittarians, we love that romance and that build up, and then it's like, oh, you're boring now. Oh, stop wanting to come round. Like, can't you just leave me alone? No, give me some space. And I thought, oh my God. So my head now is all full of this. Actually, there could be someone nice out there. And then they're going to invite me because I'm a projector. And then they're going to woo me. And then I'm going to go, oh my God, no, it's too much. Go away. So like, how confusing is all of, I know this wasn't all about romance and dating or whatever. We somehow slipped into it. But I think it's really relevant.
What I'm getting from this is that I think those of us women who go through menopause and then kind of find ourselves, because I think there are a lot of women that might not find themselves through that, but I think those of us who feel that we have found a more real sense of ourselves have got greater clarity about what we want, what we're able or want to tolerate and what we can't tolerate. And so I think we're much clearer about who it's okay to get to know, you know, or like, I'm not sure I could even get to know somebody that wasn't a kind of heart-based, kind, genuine person. I'm not sure I'd even see them, you know, because
But
I'm
isn't
so.
that, but
You know
isn't
what I
that
mean?
true about women as well? I think when we've been through, let's call it stuff, and we go into that wilderness, our prairie, your yurt, my wrecked old house, and we come out the other side having stepped into a version of ourselves that never went away, but we've thrown off that whatever. Actually, we want to be with heart-based people. It's not about it's definitely, for me, it's not about gender. It's being with people that are embracing and not judgmental, and are heart-based, and are kind and compassionate, even wearing their hearts on their sleeves, and don't mind, expressing their emotions and hugging. And that's, that's the kind of, that's my tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we take the gender off that. You're absolutely correct.
I think we need to, we've gone in all kinds of different directions, and actually it's that energetic imprint of other people who are like soulful and are here from the heart. I think that if we are going through chaos and mayhem, is to find that kind of space, however you find it. If it's just pockets of an hour when you go to a class, or pockets of an hour when you're on a Zoom with people, is to know that that's available.
Exactly. And I think there's, I think one of the points that I want to make, and I don't think we've covered it, but we might, because one of the things about being in midlife and older is that actually my short-term memory is not that great these days. And there's quite a lot to laugh about what happens with my brain and what comes out of my mouth. But I think that sense that, like you were saying, how are we now? I think I'm having the best time of my life. And I, anybody who's watching this who's thinking, oh, holy moly, this is not a good time of life, getting beyond 50, 60, 70, etc. is like just all downhill. Doesn't have to be. No. It can be the most satisfying, exciting, inspiring time of our lives, and we just have to choose that. I've got another message from Charlemagne. She says, okay. And if I'm honest, there can be a desire to have some control, perhaps someone to keep them company and potentially help take care of them. Not the best motivation, however. And yet I've also had experiences like what Francesca's been describing. There have been other barriers to deepening connection. And yeah, I think there's so much to learn, isn't it? Us as women, as men, whoever we want to connect with, that is that actually what we want is real connection, real, authentic connection.
We do. And I think I want to say as a final thing is, if you are a woman who is feeling like you are in that weird space, is go and find your tribe. Get rid of what does not suit you in all aspects of your life. But I think the most important thing is, even if you have to spend some time in solitary confinement, is shed the load, the people, the judgment, everyone else's expectations, and go and find your tribe. Because you'll know, and it might be, a thing of experimentation, but find your tribe, the people who let you, I mean, that sounds very controlling, but let you be who you are and allow you to be your weird, quirky, wild, rock chick, whatever it is, self, and just accept you. Just accept you. Go and find.
It's vital, isn't it, that we do that for ourselves, and that we gift that to those around us. And I had something I wanted to add to that, but it's gone.
That's your memory. That's your old thing.
I know.
I've got to say, right, my mum is 85, and I've just been I'm doing a 30-day gratitude thing. And one of the things I wrote was I was grateful for my mum for all the funny things that she says. So she has these little lapses of memory. When she says things, I piss myself laughing. It is just so hilarious. So embrace that quirky, whatever it is.
Exactly it, isn't it? We are unique stitches in the cardigan of life. We really,
I love
really
that. I really love that. Unique stitches.
I know it is an original. It's an original quote, Dale.
Oh.
My original quote.
See,
And we've extended it slightly. It's now become, we are all unique and united stitches in the cardigan.
See, I actually am wearing a cardigan, but cardigans always I like little cardigans, but they always remind me of old ladies. I remember once my first husband bought me a bloody black cardigan with some embroidered flowers on, and I threw it at him, and it was like, how old, I think I was in my 20s, like, how old do you think I am? I'm not wearing a cardigan. They're for old ladies.
I still haven't got back to cardigans. We've got another message from Charlemagne. Yes, Dale, heart-based, honest, curious, emotionally intelligent people. Gender not important, but whoever lives and seeks deep presence. I've gotten greater clarity about who I am and what I want, and that's impacted who I spend my time with. Great conversation, ladies. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Charlemagne. I'm delighted that you and Catherine are watching. There might be more than two. Wow, it is an adventure getting on. It is. Oh, I know what I was going to say. That's right. I love that sense of the whole menopause journey being a bit like the, going from the caterpillar to the butterfly when they become mush, and then they go into the chrysalis. And most of the time, if I talk about that, I'm talking about the mushy chrysalis bit. But when the caterpillar comes out the other side, it's a butterfly. And I really want to encourage anyone watching, or those watching, because there should be some, that actually coming out the other side of menopause is our butterfly selves. That beautiful transformation into being a butterfly. And if we were taught that, how differently would we approach menopause? It'd be amazing.
What is kind of lovely about that is, as you're talking about being a butterfly, I can kind of imagine, because I have a vivid imagination, that actually if we just stood still and imagined the most beautiful wings coming from our angel ports, and just thinking about how glorious it would be to just step off whatever it is and just fly. What a lovely, my imagination goes, every time anyone says anything, my imagination's off somewhere else. But just imagine that. Just do that as an exercise. Imagine those wings growing and think about like colours and the spread and where they could take you. Anyway, I'm going to stop now, otherwise I'll be off on some butterfly.
Perfect place to complete the conversation.
Thank you.
What a lovely gift of an intuitive exercise play, particularly for being in that sense of midlife chaos. We need to give ourselves beauty and honor and respect and joy, and don't we? Nurturing and love and warmth and encouragement to ourselves.
We do.
That's a beautiful way to do it.
Thank you. Great conversation again.
Yes, thank you, Dale. And to everyone watching, really, lots and lots of love to you all. And we'll see you on the third conversation with the Cantankerous Old Women. Although we haven't been very cantankerous today at all.
No, I did start off cantankerous because, TV, which you shouldn't watch because it toxifies your mind. That I was cross, and now I'm like, oh, I'm in a place of peace and calm. I can take my smelly, farty dogs out. You have no idea what it smells like in here.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad I don't know, Dale.
Marley is a lady, but she has a rotten body.
But my dog doesn't fart and doesn't smell.
Marley does, yes. Nice. And they've been eating rotten bones from the Rambler, and it's like, girls, haven't you quite connected that eating rotten bones and what comes out the other end, they're connected?
And you might be talking about dogs, but actually, as older women, that's a useful piece of advice.
No, I'm going to apologise to my mum. I'm going to stay with my mum this weekend, but she does the most glorious loud farts. And she always says, but at least they don't smell. It's like, no, mum. And it's like, how wonderful to have that freedom to just... Anyway, we need to stop now, to just let go. Let go and be.
Get onto the little trumpets that my mum would make.
We've got that to come.
Oh my God. The farting conversation might end up being the third one.
No. Let's not go there. No.
On that note.
No, don't.
Oh, sorry, you set me off for the evening now.
Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Lots of love. I'm like, how do I do this? This getting off.
You've got to unlive it. Somehow.
That could be it.
And then stop the recording.